You're listening to the Empowered Divorce Podcast, where you practice being the chooser in your life again, one day at a time. Thanks for joining me. Hello, my amazing listeners and mamas. How are you doing? How is the awareness around yourself and your emotions and kids and their emotions? How is that going? Please know that getting support with this is so helpful. I personally don't know how I would do it without that third-party support. And as a professional, I don't know how we can do this without support. I don't believe that what we're talking about in this last month is something that we just read a book, listen to an episode, and then boom, we're going to do all the things just perfectly in this situation. I've never seen it work that way because I don't think it's designed to work this way. It is a practice, and you are all here continuing the practice. So, welcome. As we continue the conversation around boundaries and with children and all of these nuances to many of your different unique situations, and you find yourself worrying and wondering and confused. Today's episode, we're going to talk more about secure attachment, being secure with our kids. This is our goal. And I know every one of my clients wants this. So I'm going to assume that you too want to be this secure attachment. And we've talked a lot about letting go, right? Letting go of things that we can't control and how that works with kids as well. We've talked about how boundaries are actually for you and about you and how you will show up secure and safe for your children to attach to you rather than the other way around. We've been talking about how you are that lighthouse, that guide of hope to the safe harbor, and not abandoning yourself, betraying yourself, leaving that space so that you are available when they want to attach to you. We've talked about how your triggers with your own injuries from your ex-partner's behavior and those attachment injuries are not the same injuries when your children have similar or the same behaviors as their father. You are their mother, and that alone makes them not the same as your ex. I know I have mentioned this before in previous episodes, but it is worth repeating in this particular context that no matter what age your child is in, one way that you can teach them to have their own boundaries for themselves is teach them this concept of their own control level. And then through and post divorce, when they are in the middle of their own big changes, their own attachment injuries, when they're feeling confusion, and when they have their own experience of betrayal, we want to give them as much control as they can safely have. But especially those kids who are experiencing their parents' divorce, they are going to feel even a greater sense of that out of control, powerless. So we want to give them more control, as much control as possible to really help facilitate them getting more of that window of access space. And they can do that when they feel more in control of their life. Just like your feelings of powerlessness can lead you to that anxious attachment, that hypervigilant, controlling external things that you can't control, and really not knowing what to do with the internal feelings that these externals create, right? So we want to be able to guide our children towards their own healthy sense of control and empowerment. And we can do that by giving them more things. So, for example, when your kids get in the car, letting them all have turns to choose a song that they will listen to. And I use specifically the word choose. And that's what I'm going to offer you here to do. The first suggestion that I'm going to offer you today is use the word choose with your children like overkill right now. We want them to be able to hear that word over and over. We want to give them this message of they're the choosers as much as we can during this time. So when my kids would get in the car, it was, all right, what song do you choose to listen to? What is your choice? And it's funny because now I pick up my stepkids, and I was picking them up the other day from school, and I said, okay, you get to choose first. What is your song choice for today? And I don't know if he's said this before, but this stood out to me this time. Maybe it's because this topic has been more heavily on my mind, but he says, oh, yeah, my choice. Yeah. Okay. I choose AJR. And it was like I was watching his brain reboot. This like, oh yeah, choice, my choice. And in that moment, it was like, boom, there's the shift towards his own empowerment, which makes sense. He's at school. They're limited in a lot of choices at school. It's very much like obey, do what you're told to do. And in many ways, that choice has been removed from them. So it made sense to me that his brain was like rebooting and going, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm an agent unto myself. And then my stepdaughter, on that same day, it was her turn to choose the song, and she was taking a while to decide. She was just thinking and thinking and thinking about the song. And I said, you can make a choice. And then remember, you can always change your mind. Then, right as I said that, her brain like freed up from this pressure to choose. And she was able to then make a choice. So, in this practice with your children, as you offer them this word, as you frame things for them with the word choose, what do you choose? How do you want to choose today? Don't forget to remind them that they have the right to change their minds and choose again and again and again. Another simple example to do this with your kiddos is around dinner time. Hey, do you choose ketchup or steak sauce? And in a lot of these different situations, it might mean you mamas need to let go of those things that you like to control that satisfy your own experience of powerlessness, like what they wear, how they do their hair, if they cut their hair. I think my 16-year-old is going on 7 months now without a haircut. Yep, it is killing me. Not gonna lie, but I choose to let go so that he can feel more in control over things that are safe to control. And you might be going, okay, Amy, but you have been divorced a long time. You're still doing this? Yes, I'm still doing this. Especially because we're going to talk more about this later in the episode, but especially because there's still one parent where there's not a secure attachment. So, in order to help him remain in control and feel a little less of that powerlessness, because that injury is there, then I am still absolutely giving him safe control as well. Make a list, ask your kids, get their ideas of what they feel they would like to have more control over and in. And then, is this safe? Can you let it go for the time being? One of my stepsons wanted mac and cheese every meal. And again, yuck. And where's the veggies? Right? My stepmama heart was just like, oh my gosh, he can't just eat mac and cheese morning, noon, and night, but he's not going to die. It's safe for the time being. I can let that go. And it lasted like 2 weeks. Right. So, this is the next place where you can do work on boundaries because, again, your boundaries here are for you. And here is what I will not control and let go of. And here's what I still have rules and limits around for their safety. Another thing that's really important to point out here is that when you are doing this exercise with your kids, be sure to point out what is not in their control as well. And you are part of that. They can't control you, they can't control their dad. Others are part of that. Other people's thoughts and feelings are part of what they can't control. They can't control household rules or the consequences. They can control how they think and feel about those household rules and consequences, however. Another really beautiful thing here is to take off some of the pressure, is that these are conversations that you're going to be having ongoing, right? About their own control bubbles, about what might change, really helping them find their own personal space and boundaries to which they are okay and not okay with. For example, one of my children decided that they were not okay answering messages from dad that to them felt like spiritual manipulation and abuse. And they got to choose that. That was absolutely in their control. This one is harder when you have youngers and you want them to be on the phone with their dad. And again, dynamics are so different when it's a normal divorce versus parallel parenting or single parenting, and the other parent's just like in and out, right? Not very consistent. It gets really hard, especially when those threats of parental alienation are happening and you're being blamed for the child not feeling that secure attachment and wanting to have conversations with that person. And the other piece here, too, that a lot of people don't talk about when they're discussing divorce from betrayal, trauma, and abuse is that most of the time, I'll just again say 9 out of 10 just to be safe, but most of the time, that parent who betrayed, who has the addiction, who has the abusive behaviors, are not doing the work to become secure. And so that relationship is already a little taxed. That relationship might already have an unhealthy, anxious, avoidant, or disorganized attachment. And the courts aren't going to recognize this, right? So you have a child that's saying, no, I don't want to talk to dad. But at the same time, you have this legal obligation. And that, I just want to say, is so tricky. And every situation is going to be very unique and different. A lot of it is, okay, what is stipulated in the divorce? What did you decide on? I would just encourage you to either book a session with me, call your lawyer and let them know what is happening and get legal advice around what you can and can't do. This is going to take the fear out of it. I know it's like more money to reach out and call legal, but it's one of those things that like I would borrow, I did, not would, I totally borrowed money to do that because it was worth my sanity to not have these unnecessary fears that were being chucked at me by my ex around my rights as a parent, around what I could and couldn't make or not make my kids do. So getting those answers from a lawyer can be so helpful and ease that fear that you might be having here. Okay, the next thing I want to offer you is more thoughts on attachment and how to be their secure attachment by first becoming secure within yourself. This is why the answer, if there is one to give out about how to have boundaries through imposed divorce with kids, starts with doing your own work. And until you do, there are going to be limits to the sustainability and availability that you can offer your children. I am not claiming to be an expert in attachment theory, however well versed, but this is what I do know, that we can change our attachment patterns. Let that rest upon your shoulders. If you're showing up anxious, if you're showing up avoidant, if you're showing up disorganized, give yourself a little bit of a break here. Remember that you can have different attachment styles with different people. You might have been avoidant, anxious with X, and you can still show up secure with children. So I just want to reassure you with that as well. But we can ultimately create secure within ourselves first, and then let that be how we show up with other people. And then that's how boundaries come in, is that here I am, secure, steady, and through boundaries, I let people in and I welcome people to attach to me by respecting the here's what's okay and here's what's not okay in my sphere of safety. The second thing that I know to be true about this is that you are worthy of feeling secure and confident in every relationship that you have. And so do your children. That healing does start with you. And when we heal, we're not only just healing for ourselves, but our posterity. When you do this work for you, it absolutely changes your children. Because when you become secure, you're giving them an opportunity to learn secure and become that for themselves. Now, because I know human brains can run wild, what I am not saying in that statement is that you have to be healed, complete, period, at the end of the trauma, done, perfect parent. Absolutely not. There will be injuries as part of the human nature and part of our human interactions. There was a study that my best friend and colleague, Alana Gordon, shared when we were talking about attachment on our Betrayal Trauma podcast. And she shared a study from Attachment and Psychotherapy by David Wallen, who found that during interactions between parent and child, attachment gets disrupted every 17 seconds, y'all. And that it has to be repaired or attended to in order to go back to that secure. 17 seconds. That is a lot of opportunities to repair. How awesome is that? I hope that that statistic shows you there is no expectation of being perfect here in this. I will definitely get more to that in just a minute. But I mentioned something in last episode, and I wanted to just elaborate a little bit more about what I said in regards to how your attachment is not the same with children as it will be or was with spouse. This is really important to distinguish here. And I feel like it's worth spending a little time on, especially when you are experiencing your own attachment injury with your ex-partner. These are real wounds, and why it's easy to then likewise compare our children's behavior, which is similar to ex-partners, as equal injuries to us who have experienced this betrayal. And they're not. They are not equal. They are not equal injuries to the attachment. And here's why. In a relationship with a secure attachment partner relationship, it is going to be founded upon reciprocity in that partnership, where there's mutual support, there's mutual understanding, mutual care, equal care. Both partners are actively working to meet the other's needs, offer emotional support, and all of those other levels of intimacy that I talk about in my self-paced course, Intimacy Within. All of those are part of the romantic relationship. And so there's actual safety to communicate equally your fears, your concerns, your thoughts, desires, opinions openly. Like for those of you whose heads are exploding, like, wait, that's a thing. Yeah, I feel ya. I did not know that was a thing. In fact, I will just tell you, probably about 2 years. I'm gonna honestly say 2 years, maybe 2.5, if I'm gonna be really honest, into my next relationship that was healthy and secure, did I continually there were so many moments after conversations that were hard around fears and concerns and needs and desires. And after the conversation ended and it was, like, more connecting, every single time I'd be like, "Okay, wait, are you being for real right now? Like, are you faking or are you just like, wait, what?" Every single dang time. The poor guy, like, Scott seriously was like, "Uh-huh, I'm good." But anyways, that is how dysregulated I had become and also accepted, became used to. That was how I survived that unhealthy relationship in the past. In a safe, secure partnership, there is no fear of rejection and abandonment in this communication. There's also independence within this intimacy with romantic partner in a secure relationship. You each are going to have that space to grow individually without feeling threatened or being told that you're a threat or being told that you're too much. It's going to be celebrated. It's going to be supported, encouraged by the other partner in this relationship that is securely attached. And again, mind blown, right? Like, I didn't know that either. Now, conversely, your attachment to child, the child parent attachment, this is very inherently asymmetrical, right? With the parent as primary in that caregiving role. And so, for those of you who just had a light bulb moment when I say caregiver, congratulations on this awareness. Yes. Notice how when you stepped into caregiver role, for those of you who did this, I don't think everybody did, but for many of you who stepped into caregiver role, right? Fixer, solver, mother, even that mother figure in your primary romantic relationship, of course, this wasn't secure. And no wonder why you felt like the parent, and no wonder why he felt like they felt like the child, and no wonder why it might have really interfered with the level of intimacy. So I know, right? Another episode for another day. Anyways, the parent and child secure attachment. This attachment is built on the child's trust, okay, that their parent will consistently respond to their needs, providing comfort, support, and that nurturance. This parent figure is going to be accessible when the child needs them. Are you there? Yes, parent is accessible. Parent is reliable in their responsiveness. Parent is engaged with the child, right? Parent showing empathy, parent showing support, parent showing care, concern, getting into their story, getting into their experience with their child. And when you do this, the child develops their own sense of security and safety as they start to explore their environment, as they start to formulate their own relationships with other people. It goes back to the "Are you there for me?" asks the child. And then the ARE is accessible, responsive, and engaged. And that acronym is props to Dr. Sue Johnson. The parents in securely attached relationship with their child also plays a critical role in how you guide their behavior. This is how you teach them their own boundaries to protect their safety because you're modeling it through your own healthy emotional regulation and your own social interactions. And I'm going to push time out. I'm going to push the pause button here. Remember, the power is in the repair. Just because there has been some dysregulation does not mean that you cannot rewire that you cannot become secure. It starts with you giving that child a secure base from which they can then explore the world around them, knowing that they have a safe emotional harbor to return to. Like I talked last time in that lighthouse, you will always be shining that light. You will always be there for them. Hopefully, you can see why I am focusing on attachment and how it so intrinsically is related to boundaries. Being securely attached parent helps create effective boundaries with yourself and then with your children. It's that foundation of trust between parent and child. When child can securely attach to parent, they trust that parent has their best interest at heart. They will be more receptive to that lighthouse guidance and adjustments that they need to make to get safely to shore. It helps them to learn effective emotional regulation because, as I mentioned, you're going to mirror healthy emotional regulation when they are dysregulated. If my child starts to dysregulate and they start yelling, screaming, and throwing things, I'm not going to match that energy. I'm not going to match that behavior. I'm going to model as a secure parent what healthy emotional regulation looks like when you're managing stress. This doesn't mean that I am void of emotions. In fact, quite the contrary. Being a healthy, secure attachment means I'm going to be very vulnerable. I'm going to be very vulnerable with my own experiences, with how I feel, but I'm not going to put those emotions on my children. I'm not going to require my children's behavior to change in order for me to self regulate. I'm going to show them here's how I stay in my window of tolerance when I feel my own stress. When I watch your behavior, sure, my thoughts and feelings about that are intense too. But here's how I handle that. Here's how I manage my own emotions. I love this because it's going to really start fostering that open communication between you and your kids. It also allows them to have their own autonomy in that self exploration, where what you're wanting to do here is help them create their own individuality in a safe framework where parents' rules, limits, and boundaries exist to protect that framework. As you hold to the rules and the limits that you create in your household, as children step into your harbor, as you hold to that, and now the consequences when the not okay is happening, you will respect yourself more and you invite them to respect themselves more. They will feel safe to voice their thoughts, ideas, and opinions as you emulate that vulnerability. And yes, there will absolutely be injury because it's part of the human experience, but the power is in the repair. And repair is part of secure attachment. I want to say that again. When injury happens, repair every 17 seconds, right? Repair is part of secure attachment. When repair doesn't happen, when parent doesn't reach out and sincerely apologize and redirect their own behavior, when they don't shine that light, when they don't stand strong, when they're not that safe harbor, that is when we lean into more of the insecure, unstable attachment injuries because secure attachment is not perfect. When I started working on attachment injury repair with my kids, it wasn't me trying to solve them, fix them, or make them understand me and where I was coming from and why they needed to see my point of view or let me explain your father to you, right? It was me doing my own work. It was me aligning with myself, becoming secure within myself, letting myself feel alone in parenting, but not blaming, rather accepting. It was validating myself and buoying myself up for the responsibility of what I want to choose into as their mother. Then I became the secure place that when my children were ready to process their own injuries between us, I was not trying to attach to them, but make it safe for them to attach to me in this new, safe, secure way. And then boundaries with children are not for them, they are for you. Here's my personal space, and here's what's okay and not okay with me. And here's what I will do if that is crossed. If you swear and yell at me or destroy property in this home, I will not yell and swear and destroy property back towards you, right? My boundary is that I'm going to mirror healthy, secure for the child in that moment. The boundary isn't without consequence. So as a mom, I mirror real world consequences, age appropriate as well. You broke the lamp, that's $80 to replace. You destroy property outside the home, Here's the legal consequences. I'm going to mirror that with compassion, with support, remaining accessible, responsive, and engaged. This takes time. I am still practicing with my olders, and Scott is practicing with his youngers. And so when we're speaking about boundaries, it's also important to understand that secure is not boundaryless or overly boundaried, right? It's that too little or too much theory around attachment. Like, look at it like the Three Little Bears story. Goldilocks didn't want Mama Bear's porridge. It was too hot. And this can represent maybe too much. This might look like too much overparenting, smothering, oversharing. I see this happen where mom morphs into friend and then all access granted too much. This actually isn't coming from a secure attachment. It's more of an anxious attachment style. So this might be where a boundary list, like, sure, do whatever, because if I tell you what's not okay, you might get mad and leave me, abandon me, choose him over me, or that new wife over me. I might be less desirable to be around if I'm the boundaried one. So the too much is too much freedom, too much access, too much do what you want, boundaryless. Or sure, you can have access to me at all times, all things, and all places, right? So now I don't have self care time. In the name of self sacrifice being like the best mom, I'm not going to focus on me, and you get me anytime you want. So, nope, not going on a single ladies trip. Nope, not going to say no to you to take you to the mall today, even though I have 1,000 things that I need to accomplish that are really important to me today. Sure, you can call me names, you can slam doors, you can act out, because if I say that behavior is not okay in this house, you might go to a different house. So, in this space, boundaries are not going to be made. The consequences aren't going to be established or held to. Rules are going to be vague or void. Limits aren't going to be clarified, and they're going to be ignored. And then Goldilocks walked over to Papa Bear's porridge and it was too cold. This can represent too little. This is when we show up not enough access, not enough responsiveness from you or engagement by you. This might be where you have kids believing the other parent's lies and they're angry with you, or you see them connecting with the girlfriend or new wife and they're believing their lies about you. And so now your kids are pushing against the rules. They're fighting you in every single way. A too little is creating more distance between, because we're feeling this pushback, right? So we go more rules, more limits, more space in between. And now the access that they have to us, the responsiveness and the engagement is too little. And yet underneath this overly boundaried too little approach is often the same fear of abandonment, rejection, and loss. This can be projected as the need to be the bad guy because the other partner is so fun. I remember saying this all the time, like, I have to be the bad guy. I'm the rule parent. I'm the one that has to toe the line and keep you kids in line. I was overcompensating for the other parent's too much fun, right? Boundaryless. There's no rules over there. And because I'm afraid that my kids are going to think that's how real life works and it's all about fun and games, no work, then I'm going to overcompensate with more rules, more work, more chores, more responsibility, right? Less time for connection. I remember even telling my kids, it was probably my girls because they were older, something along the lines of, sure wish we could have fun like dad and his wife, but I have to be the one to work, provide, and make sure you all have healthy life skills. Can you relate? So this too little access because we are overly ruled, because we have so many rules, so many limits, so many boundaries to protect ourselves from children. So there's that space. This can be more of like the avoidant attachment style. That's going to result in rules that are being set from control rather than protect. Boundaries are going to be from this internal place for you, feeling powerless, right? I felt powerless up against my ex and what he could provide at that moment, and I couldn't, or this need to control is going to be the motivator. So what secure, safety, and steady looks like is practicing to be in the middle, to be balanced between the two. And hear me out here. This is like, turn the volume up. Balance between too much or too little, right? Balance between no boundaries and too many rules and boundaries. Balance does not mean perfect. Balance doesn't mean right or wrong. Balance doesn't mean full access or no access. Balance is, I'm not perfect, but I will keep practicing. It's, I will get it wrong, but I will repair quickly. There are rules to protect, limits to guide, and teach consequences and boundaries that are to protect personal space. When you set boundaries for yourself, with yourself, and emulate those for your children, this is your superpower, mamas. It is your superpower. It's not this, boundaries aren't this shield, right? It's not the shield to shut out. It's a superpower to teach your kids that they're strong, no matter what the storm looks like. It's showing them that you will be the harbor, no matter what their storm looks like. Because divorce doesn't mean damage. It means you've got a golden opportunity here to show your kids what resilience looks like through the storm. You're the steady hand guiding them. And if one parent, one primary attachment for children can be that secure, it is enough. It is enough. You get to show them that even when things change, they are loved. Even when the storm feels like it's never going to stop, they are valued and they are understood. This is how you're going to turn those challenges into those stepping stones out of their storm and into your safe harbor as they choose to take their own step, one step at a time. Your love as a parent, your boundaries to help you anchor in your own roots is what they need. And you're providing them that growth and that strength because you are facing your own life's challenges head on. You are doing enough. You are enough. I promise. It might take years for your child to choose into your safe harbor, but stay steady, stay strong, keep the light on, keep shining it bright, keep searching for them, letting them know that you are there, that you are not going to leave, letting them know that there is hope that they can always have in you. Hold on to your boundaries so that you don't abandon yourself and then they lose sight of that light. Anchor in over and over and over. Practice and practice. And there is no perfect. Each time is enough. As you become the choosers in your own life, your children will become the choosers in theirs. And because you can, they can. Take care, everybody. Come learn more about what healthy looks like, what secure looks like by learning how to date yourself. My next Dating Within workshop starts again at the end of March, March 28th through 30th. Maybe you're feeling scared to jump back into dating, or maybe you're just starting to consider it, or maybe you're already feeling excited about those possibilities. Whatever your state of mind is, this course is crafted especially with you in mind. Because I totally get it. You might be haunted by the fears of repeating those past mistakes, reliving the trauma, or overlooking those crucial red flags that you missed before. This workshop is designed to help you become empowered in this journey of self-discovery and prepare you for a future where you date not just with hope, but with confidence and joy. Check out the link in the show notes to find out more information to get your spot. It is so much fun because, as always, I want you to know that you are the chooser in your life. And you get to choose the experience that you want, even in dating. See you soon.
I was born to fly and spread these wings and find my own. I am coming home. Today will be the day it all will change. Nothing, no one's in my way. Today will be the day.